My name is Candace Stewart, and I'm the manager of East West Studios here in Los Angeles. East West has been a studio since the late 50s in several different incarnations. Originally, it was Western Recorders, who people would know was designed by Bill Putnam Sr. Bill was an innovator. He was a designer, an acoustician, and an incredible engineer and producer. He came out at the urging of Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra in the late 50s and acquired the building that is at 6000 Sunset today, as well as 6050 Sunset. Together they were known as United Western. This was the Western building, that was the United building. They became Ocean Way later, and under Alan Side's guidance continued on into the 90s. This building became Cello in 1998, and I had the honor and pleasure of being the manager at Cello till 2005 when it closed. Then in 2006, East West Sounds, which is a sample library company, famous around the world, Doug Rogers, the owner, quite a visionary and an audiophile himself, he decided to save the studios. He realized the value of the rooms and the spaces and knew that this would be a wonderful place to record his sound libraries. So in 2006, he bought the building and had Philippe Starck, the famous French designer, come in and redesign the areas that needed a lot of, let's just say, refurbishing. So what he did was made all the lounges and the kitchen and everything, brought them up to date and made them modern and welcoming, but maintained the integrity of the studios and the acoustic spaces. He didn't really change anything in any of the studios other than a lighting rig in Studio 1, which is the large studio. People often ask how things are different now than they were back in the day, and the truth of the matter is the main thing that's changed from recording is that the computer has replaced the tape machine, and as far as the budgets go, you always hear about shrinking budgets, but the truth is I think people still acknowledge the importance and the impact of both the acoustic space, the console, the microphones, obviously the performance of a fine musician and good instruments, as well as the creative environment that's afforded someone. We're very competitive, and you know what happens now is people will work in their home studio, get down their basic tracks, more or less pre-production, and then come in and utilize us when their budget can stand it, and come in and maybe get drum tracks or maybe come in for a mix or something like that. But really, I find the younger generation, now that they're listening to LPs and listening to vinyl again, I think they're realizing the value of both acoustics, microphones, consoles, gear, and the plugins obviously are improving drastically, as is the resolution in Pro Tools. I mean, when it first came out, certainly it wasn't comparable to analog, but now I think it's really quite good, and I think most people would agree with HD and HDX that we're really hitting the mark with what's happening digitally. I think that as a manager it's a challenge because a lot of fine studios have closed. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to run this facility. It's such a historical place. From Frank Sinatra, the Beach Boys, Mamas and Papas, and all those wonderful artists from the 60s and 70s on through the 80s and 90s. I mean, and now we're still very fortunate to be home to some of the top pop acts. We do a lot of different genres here, a lot of hip-hop, a lot of rock, pop of course, classical, big band, jazz, really everything. We're very fortunate to have done Michael Bublé's most recent record, which is great. I think last year we had more Grammy nominations than we'd ever had. I think we're 21. This year I think we had 11. So I just feel really fortunate to still be able to have a place where people can come in and record a large orchestra or do a vocal in a room and have exposure to these wonderful studios. I don't know what else you might want to know. And I'd like to thank Rock On, actually, who is the company who sells all the wonderful equipment throughout the world. If you need to buy something, whether it's a plug-in or any kind of recording equipment or pro audio gear, they're a wonderful resource. And I think if you want to check out their website, it's Rock On. And yeah, I'm just happy to be talking to anyone that's watching this online and sees this interview. Just remember, it's about good audio. Make good audio. That's your job.